happens when heroes turn on heroes. Usually, a whole lot of chaos, and sometimes even a whole lot of death. Welcome back, Nerd Squad, it's me, Amanda. Which superheroes would you want to see duke it out? Let me know in the comments. Number 10. Hulk and Thor. Hulk and Thor recently clashed in Donny Cates' crossover story between their two series, both of which he is currently penning. The story that he wrote with them duking it out is entitled Banner War. However, these two also have a long history of having beef in the comics, albeit pretty playful beef, I'd say. Their feud is similar in nature to that of Hulk's feud with the Thing. The question starting it all being who is really strongest between them. Thor likewise enjoys the challenge of taking on Hulk, and the two are seen as being pretty evenly matched. Though at the end of the day, I would actually still say that Hulk is stronger, as Hulk is known for being the strongest there is after all. And friends, before we move on to our next spot on this list, if you love what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, be sure to show us that you love us by clicking that like button. Number 9. Martian Manhunter and Green Lantern. Martian Manhunter was there when John Stewart's Green Lantern let an entire planet be destroyed as a result of his ego. The two were deployed to the planet in the hopes of saving it, but Green Lantern didn't feel that he actually needed Martian Manhunter's help and restrained him. Unfortunately, this proved to be a mistake, as when John found the on the planet, it and the room that it was contained in was painted entirely yellow, preventing John from using his Green Lantern powers to do anything to destroy or defuse it. Yikes. As a result, the planet was destroyed, with only John and John surviving the explosion, leaving Martian Manhunter grossly disappointed in his colleague Green Lantern and his hubris. Number 8. Captain Marvel and Iron Man. This is a pretty ridiculous one considering how close these two were, but hey, Civil War II happened. It happened and we gotta acknowledge it. We can't ignore that. Carol and Tony used to be the best of friends, with Tony even using the nickname of Care Bear for Carol, a nickname that her BFF Jessica Drew aka Spider-Woman also often uses, so you know that means that they're pretty close. However, this didn't stop them from getting into it when Carol believed the best way to deal with crime was by fighting criminals before they even manifested as such. That was what Civil War II was basically all about. Basically, it was Minority Report. Captain Marvel believed that using the Inhuman Ulysses' visions to prevent crime was the best course of action, whereas Tony, oddly enough the voice of reason here, believed the best way to go about things was actually to wait until an actual crime happened, not trust in, as he saw it, unreliable visions. Enter Civil War II, which ended with Carol as pretty much a straight up unreasonable villain in the eyes of readers who punched Tony into a coma. Number 7. Robin and Robin. When it comes to the Bat family, there are quite a few feuds to be had, unsurprisingly. I mean, hey, it's a big family. Still, I think one of the most dramatic was the one between Tim Drake and Damian Wayne. Initially, when these two met, they seemingly got off on the wrong foot, and Tim kinda wanted to try to offer an olive branch. This came in the form of offering to spar with young Damian, with Tim promising to take it easy on him. However, everything quickly went awry when Damian revealed that earlier in the night he'd actually killed a criminal, the Spook, taking his head. The two ended up fighting, and Damian knocks out Robin's Tim Drake, leaving him bleeding on the floor of the Batcave, and donning a version of his costume when he goes to confront his father, letting him know that he is ready to replace Tim as Robin. Batman ends up returning and retrieving Tim, helping to fix up the damage that Damian did to him. Eventually, these two would move past this feud, but for a while there, it was basically life-threatening. Number 6. Daredevil and Punisher. Daredevil and the Punisher are usually seen to be friends and allies, but because of their difference in opinions when it comes to how best to handle superheroic issues, they are sometimes known to be rivals of one another as well. This element of their relationship is especially highlighted in the Netflix Daredevil series, where we are first introduced to this world's live-action representation of the Punisher. Here, Matt Murdock disagrees with Punisher's tactics, believing he should not kill his enemies or people who get in his way of tracking down his true enemies, whereas the Punisher believes the people he kills deserve it. Although both see the other as a hero of sorts, there are times when they look down on one another or condemn them for their methods. In fact, Frank Castle has likely thought before that Daredevil is not harsh enough when it comes to the way that he doles out justice. Number 5. Zatanna and Catwoman. Oh boy, does Catwoman have reason to have beef with Zatanna. These two ended up in a fight with one another after it was revealed that Catwoman may have only become a full-fledged hero as a result of Zatanna manipulating her mind. Because of this revelation, Catwoman turned on Zatanna, with the two getting into a physical fight. In the end, Selina was rightly pissed at Z after learning this, feeling like she had never in her life been more violated than she was when Zatanna changed her against her will. It also made Catwoman question whether or not she was actually the hero she had become at this point, since she'd obviously really had no choice in that matter. What a terrible thing to do to someone. Number 4. Jean Grey and Emma Frost. A feud that feels as old as time, really. Or at least almost as old as Emma Frost's character. Initially, this feud started because Emma was a villain in the comics, being the White Queen of the Hellfire Club. This made her a rival to not just Jean, but also all of the X-Men. Emma was actually introduced around the time of the Dark Phoenix saga too, and was one of those present and involved when Mastermind took Jean and brainwashed her into joining the Hellfire Club as its Black Queen. Of course, this wasn't really Jean, but the Phoenix, who had taken on Jean's likeness, both in personality and in appearance. What really caused these two women to dislike one another though took place when Emma had reformed and become a hero, and that happened mainly as a result of Emma having a psychic affair with Jean's husband, Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, during a time when their marriage was strained. Hence the feud. Number 3. Superman and Shazam. One of the most iconic feuds in comics isn't necessarily a real narrative feud. I mean, these two don't typically go after one another to fight needlessly in terms of themselves as characters. They don't really have much of a reason to be jealous of the other or even dislike the other, but they do end up pitted against each other, often in alternate realities, and just because people like to see who would win if they got in a fight. And actually, their feud extends back in history to like the creation of these characters, which were considered rivals in terms of them being with two different publishers at the time in comics. In most cases, because these two are so evenly matched, generally their fights end in either a standstill, a stalemate, or with Superman implied as the victor. While Superman might be weak to Shazam's magic, Shazam is often forced to transform back into Billy by Superman's tactics. So, number 2. X-Men and the Eternals. Though not all X-Men and not all Eternals are involved in this one. This feud is actually what sets up the Avengers vs. X-Men vs. Eternals Judgment Day event. It all goes down because of the reveal to the world that mutants have the power to resurrect themselves, which is happening now in modern comics, essentially meaning that mutants have become immortal beings. Druig, who at the time is Prime Eternal, thinks this makes mutants far too powerful and labels them as deviants, which obviously deviants are the people that the Eternals must always fight against, which apparently isn't that much of a stretch either, because genetic-wise, mutants are similar enough to deviants for the deviants to successfully be able to use the gates on Krakoa. Labeling them as deviants means the Eternals go to war with the mutants, and of course, their premier superhero team, the X-Men. Hence, X-Men and Eternals fighting each other. Number 1. Green Lantern and Batman. At this point, Batman pretty much has beef with, well, almost any Green Lantern you can think of. At least most of the Green Lanterns who are Earth-based, I would say. The most famous feud between Batman and Green Lantern, though, is the one between Bruce and Guy Gardner. Guy Gardner is basically the epitome of everything that kinda irks Batman in regards to a fellow hero's attitude. He's brash, bold, grating, and often seen as undisciplined. At least, you know, in comparison to someone as regimented as Batman, I would say. When Guy found himself in the Justice League and under Batman's leadership, the two clashed to the point that Guy actually decided to challenge Batman, hoping to replace the Dark Knight as the new leader of the team. Well, this didn't end very well for Guy, who was knocked out famously in one punch by Batman. Although it should be noted that this was Guy fighting without the power of the Green Lantern, as he egotistically chose to take off his power ring and not fight with it. So yeah, which is pretty Guy Gardner, I gotta say. I hope you enjoyed this journey into some of the wildest and greatest superhero rivalries. Until next time, you stay nerdy, YouTube. Bye!